Good morning everyone and welcome to today's video. I'm dressed like this just for fun. This outfit is absolutely amazing with the beautiful bonnet and the apron. Now, to have a white apron for me is probably not going to work out the best because I can tend to be a little bit of a mess in the kitchen. But I absolutely love this dress. I just absolutely love it. It is the most comfortable thing. It's so roomy and it goes down to the floor for me. And I'm going to take the bonnet off. I won't be in the kitchen cooking with the bonnet on. And I might keep the apron on. We'll see once. I'm going to go ahead and make some old-fashioned German potato bread. So let's get in the house and let's get started. It's safe to say that my mother spent the biggest part of her life in the kitchen. My mother cooked all Pennsylvania Dutch foods. She cooked everything from scratch. She hardly ever made a casserole, and she never made things like spaghetti and stuff like that. My dad would not eat it. But Pennsylvania Dutch. So what is Pennsylvania Dutch? It's always meat, potatoes, some carrots, and it's just simple dishes. So one dish would be a vegetable, one dish would be a meat, bread, pies, cakes, cookies, big desserts. Desserts was big in the Pennsylvania Dutch lifestyle. Today, I'm going to show you homemade potato bread from scratch using my hands. Now, my mom made this potato bread. Now, she didn't make a whole lot of bread by scratch. She did her pies and all of that. But I'm going to show you how to make it by scratch. And we're making potato rolls today. It's very simple, very frugal, but very time consuming. So if you were a homemaker at home and you wanted to feed your family and your children, this was something you did, but it takes a long time. This is not a quick dinner or a quick way of cooking. It's just so simple. My favorite recipe would have been like my mom's, is in the Amish cookbook, and it is potato rolls. Now, we are going to half this recipe because this recipe actually calls for 12 cups of flour. Now, I will make a large amount of it when I make my cinnamon rolls, but I don't have time this week to make that, but I will be making that, and I do have a video of me already making it. So we're going to cut this in half. I will share with you the recipe in the description box below so you can read it for yourselves. The first thing that we're going to do is we have our warm water. We are going to proof our yeast. We always did that to make sure the yeast was still good. We put other ingredients in, that way we weren't wasteful in case the yeast was not living anymore. And I'll show you what that looks like. So we have our 1 cup of warm water, and then we're going to add a tablespoon of the yeast. So here's our cup of warm water. And now we're going to add the tablespoon of yeast. Now we need to add some sugar to feed the yeast. And it only takes a couple minutes before you'll see that it's active. So it calls for 1 cup of sugar. I'm going to add just a little bit of the yeast. Just going to add a little of the yeast. Now we're going to let that proof. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put all of our other ingredients together. So here we have our bowl. Let the yeast sit. Now we're going to use 1 cup of sugar. It calls for half a cup of oil. I'm using half a cup of lard. Her bread and things like that, she just really didn't measure. But for people who are not used to Pennsylvania Dutch, I will share the measurements. We're going to add a cup of potatoes and our 3 eggs. And about a tablespoon of salt. It's so simple. We're almost finished with the ingredients. So now we're just going to go ahead And we're going to incorporate all of this together. All right, once the yeast is proofed, we'll get back with the yeast and then we'll add the flour. When we were first married, we lived on the farm, the home farm, and this is how I made my bread. So we're just going to take our knuckles and we're going to go like this for a little while anyhow, until it's more incorporated so we don't make such a mess on our counter. Now this makes a lot, even at a half of a recipe. So you could use this for cinnamon rolls, cinnamon bread, potato bread. And now it's the work, the kneading. So you're going to knead your bread dough for about 10 minutes. So now we start with the kneading. Now is where you only use enough of flour, but not too much. Over 30 years ago, when our children were young and we still lived on the home farm, I made bread about twice every week. And this is how I made it. Now, I did not follow a recipe other than the one that my grandma had, and I became quite used to that. But because I'm on YouTube here and I need to share with you recipes that are exact amounts, I found the exact same recipe that was in that book. But that's pretty much conventional type of potato bread recipe. It's mashed potatoes, flour, it's milk, it's lard, or it's water. It's basically the same type ingredients. It's just I didn't have the equations. I just would go by feel. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to make these into rolls. So after we kneaded the bread, we let it rise about an hour to 2 hours. I always put mine somewhere where it's really warm. So in about an hour and a half, it was risen to double. Now we're just shaping them into the rolls. You can make them into hamburger rolls, hot dog rolls, sub rolls, or dinner rolls. And then what you're going to do is let them rise again until they're double, and then you're going to bake them at 350 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes until they're brown on the top and brown on the bottom. In case you're wondering, they are high in calories. They are nothing that would be considered healthy. Pennsylvania Dutch cooking is not health cooking. In fact, most of the cooking is high in carbohydrates. But boy, oh boy, it's the best cooking around. And now for life behind the camera. I spend the majority of my time editing videos and in the kitchen. And I wanted to show you what every day looks like for me, the parts that you don't see in camera. So I am making some cornbread. And I'm going to be peeling carrots. And I'm going to be doing a lot of cooking because I feed a lot of people on a weekly basis. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow. For those of you who love to see these hidden snapshots of my life, enjoy.